The other day, we got some spicy new gameplay footage for Biomutant, which includes the UI. I'm all about the UI, I don't know about you guys, but we also got some information about crafting. So let's break down everything you need to know about crafting. This video is sponsored by you. Be sure to let me know in the comments section down below what you think about Biomutant's crafting system, and hit that big red subscribe button if you enjoy this video. From the information we saw last year and the new gameplay we got this year, we have a pretty solid idea around what melee crafting, ranged crafting, as well as armor crafting is going to turn out like. The crafting UI has seen some pretty significant updates since the original footage we got in the 2020 gameplay trailer, which I think is a positive because it looks so much cleaner since those changes. We're going to start with range crafting, then go into melee, and then armor crafting at the end, but as always there will be timestamps in the description down below. Now for ranged crafting, there is 6 different choices that you need to make: the base, grip, stock, top mod, muzzle, and magazine. The base is the key important factor here. When choosing a base, this is where you will decide what type of weapon you are going to make. These look like the options will be pistol, rifle, shotgun, and what I'm assuming is like an assault rifle or SMG, like a machine gun basically. The base affects these weapon types as well as your accuracy and your fire rate. You can also add other effects to the weapon based on the type, like the anti-materia base, which adds a biohazard or toxic damage to the weapon. It is also going to affect the level and attribute requirements for the weapon as well. So, you may have to hit a certain level or have a certain attribute at a certain stat so that you can actually use the weapon. You will also have to have the required skill in order to use the weapon. We did see in last year's footage that there is going to be a skill requirement to using automatic rifles, for example. So you will have to hit the right level, the right attributes, and have the skill to use the weapon that you are making as well. You can also put extra effects onto these weapons. For example, we do see with the shotgun, it adds the speeded perk. When you kill an enemy, this gun automatically reloads the magazine. And there is also a split perk we saw in last year's footage, which allows bullets to penetrate the target, dealing damage on entering and exiting the target, and the bullet will continue for its maximum range. Something that you'll notice on all of these components is this little leaf icon, which I'm assuming is the default currency. Like maybe you need a certain currency in order to make these weapons. There is also a crafting components aspect as well. You can see in the UI, depending on the components that are added or removed, these crafting costs will actually go up or down. So you may need to have whatever this leaf currency is, as well as the required crafting components in order to make your weapon. The next choice that you will make is grip. And what we do see here is this mostly impacts your critical hit chance, though it doesn't have a huge impact. Like whether this is going to also have some kind of a hidden recoil impact as well. It doesn't look like there is a recoil stat on the right hand side with the options here, but maybe underneath the hood there is some kind of a recoil that the grip will actually impact. The next is stock, and the stock mostly impacts your range and your armor piercing value. It also adds a little bit of critical hit chance for some of the higher level stocks that we can see. It seems that the higher level mods also add to the star value of the weapon, so when the rocker stock is added to this gun, it makes it a 2-star shotgun. The top mods is next, and it's basically your sights and scopes, and this seems to impact your armor pierce primarily, as well as your range and your critical hit chance. The magazine is your clip size, and it also affects your armor pierce and your crit chance, but the key thing is how much your magazine size is. Whether this affects reload speed, we don't know that yet, but it does appear that the larger magazine you do have, the more damage your gun is obviously going to do because you have to reload less. So this does have a drastic impact on your overall damage output for the gun, as well as your armor pierce and crit chance from some of the higher level magazines that you can put onto your gun. The final component is muzzle, and this will affect your critical hit chance, your armor pierce, and your range. Now, a couple of things to note with this gun overall is that depending on the components that you choose, it will change the rarity, quality, and material for the weapon. Now, the rarity seems to be just the overall quality, I guess, of the gun, how much value it's going to provide you in combat, and probably as well if you do sell it to a vendor, the rarity will probably come into aspect there. The quality and material, we don't know the actual effects on the gun. The quality is an interesting one because we know that there isn't going to be weapon degradation, so your weapon won't actually break over time. So what this material and quality really affect, we don't know. Rick Rack makes no sense to me. I don't know what this is, so we'll really have to wait and see once the game comes out to how this actually affects your weapon. For the melee weapons, it is very similar to the ranged weapons, however, some of the components are different. The key component is the base, which is the same as ranged, a handle, and then this thing called add-ons. Now, depending on the base type you use, you will have a certain amount of add-ons that you can add to the melee weapon, which will add different effects to the weapon and also add armor pierce and crit chance. Now, the base type is very similar to the ranged weapons. It really affects the weapon class, so whether it's going to be a heavy or a medium or a light. It also affects the attack speed, and it can have those additional effects just like range to put on things like cold or biohazard damage, that kind of stuff. This will also have the skills, attributes, and level requirement needed for the weapon. So if it is a one-handed slash weapon or a crush weapon, you will need that skill to use it, as well as the corresponding level and attribute. For the handle, in the 2020 footage, we didn't get to see too much about what the handle actually does, but in the new footage we have seen, it does appear just to affect your armor pierce and crit chance. Some of the higher level handles may have different effects as well. Maybe they will affect attack speed. It does seem very similar to the range mods that you can add. The add-ons is specific to melee weapons, and depending on your base type, you will have only a couple of add-ons or many, and this can add things like nails and scissors to the weapon, increasing the armor pierce and the critical hit chance of your weapon. We have also seen armor crafting. Now, we've only seen a little bit of the armor crafting, so we don't know heaps about it, but it does seem to function very similar to weapon crafting. It does seem a little bit less complex though, which is probably a good thing considering. Now, from these screens we have seen, you can see that we are creating a headpiece which has 2 add-on slots, and these add-on slots look like they function very similar to melee crafting weapons where you do have add-ons that you can put on the gear. They will have different bonuses that will affect the piece that you do put on, which you can see on the right hand side. On the main screen where we do see the mutant, you can see all of the stats on the right hand side as well as the specific resistances, and you can from here kind of tell what pieces of armor we're going to get. So we have a head, a left shoulder, a right shoulder. The bottom 3 icons here, it is a little hard to tell what they're going to be. My guess is that the one in the center is like a belt or pants or something like that. The icons on the right and left side could possibly be a right and left hand slot. However, I'm kind of guessing this is going to be your ranged and melee slots based on where they are located, as well as this being the only crafting screen. It would make sense that this would be the ranged and melee weapons, but it could actually be the right and left hand as well. Now, when you do create these armor pieces, there is less complexity that you can make. It is really just making the single piece of armor, and depending on that piece of armor, it will have add-on slots that you can put on the gear. From the footage that we've seen, these will increase things like your critical chance, your energy regen, your key energy, your health, or just your straight armor value. Something that we haven't seen much of is if in these add-on slots you can change the resistances from these pieces of gear, because as we know, the higher resistance you have for a specific hazard, the better you will do in those regions of the world. It would make sense, considering that you can see your resistances on this screen, that some of the add-ons will increase your resistances. Say for this chest piece, how it's got cold resistance on it, maybe you can add additional cold resistance by putting, some kind of add-on onto this piece of gear just to make it a little bit more viable for those conditions. It's hard to say if this is going to be the case, however, it does look like it will be, considering we can see the resistances on these screens. Check out my mount and exploration video if you are looking for more Biomutant content. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch, where I stream 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, Australian night times. Hope to see you guys there in the next stream. Thank you for watching this video. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.